Good morning and welcome to Tardis Spider. I'm Terry and today, the TARDIS in Time and Space. I did not write a script. In fact, I'll be reading directly from this book by Alan Kistler. The book is Doctor Who, Celebrating 50 Years, A History Through Time and Space. I have read the book many times and it is one of the better volumes on Doctor Who's history. So if you enjoy what you see and hear today, please purchase this book by Alan Kistler. And now, the TARDIS Through Time and Space. Chapter 5, The TARDIS and Time Travel. In the first official pitch by C.E. Weber, he suggested that the Doctor's time machine be invisible due to light-resistant paint. He believed a futuristic spaceship would put off viewers disinclined to science fiction stories, while disguising the time machine as a common public object, such as a night watchman's shelter, would make it seem too much like a magic door in a fairy tale, putting off adults. Invisibility was his visual compromise. Newman objected to an invisible spaceship, which Weber suggested be hidden in a van for the opening story, saying that the machine needed to be iconic and visually interesting. The idea came that the Doctor's ship would have the ability to change shape, camouflaging itself wherever it landed, making the ship capable of disguise and saying it was larger inside, a quality the Third Doctor later described as dimensionally transcendental, meant the production crew didn't have to film a large spaceship landing and taking off in each story. It was much easier to have a familiar object simply fade in and out of locations. Over the years, different stories implied the TARDIS interior was out of sync with the outside universe. The Fourth Doctor called this a state of temporal grace, and claimed it also prevented weapons from working inside, though this defense feature stopped working by the time the Fifth Doctor came along. Simon Guiller's novel, The Time Travelers, delved into the ship's design strategy. In one scene, the First Doctor explains to Barbara, "The TARDIS is built specifically not to change history. We can visit, we can observe, and the ship can disguise itself so no one ever know we were there, but only so long as we never step outside. We watch it all on the scanner." In the episode The Parting of Ways, the Ninth Doctor echoes this sentiment, revealing that he becomes part of the local timeline once he leaves the TARDIS doors. This certainly explains why Time Lords, sworn never to interfere, would bother building time ships in the first place. Susan said she came up with the name TARDIS, but we later learned that other Time Lords used the same term. Perhaps Susan started the trend many years before, when she and the Doctor were still on Gallifrey. In the Fourth Doctor adventure, The Deadly Assassin, TARDISes are also known by the technical term TT capsule, the initials standing for time travel. Officially, the Doctor's ship is a Type 40 TT capsule, a model so old as to be considered obsolete by his lifetime, explaining the unreliability of the ship's controls. It's alive. In the third Doctor Who TV story, The Edge of Destruction, Ian asks if it's possible that the ship can think on its own. The Doctor admits that it thinks not in terms a human being could understand, but more as a computer, processing various simultaneous operations. Nevertheless, the Doctor considers the ship a living thing and shows great affection toward it. Starting in his third incarnation, the hero sometimes addresses the ship directly as "old girl" and lovingly pats the console, particularly if he thinks the TARDIS has suffered insult. After a few years, viewers couldn't ignore that the Doctor conveniently kept arriving in places where terrible things were about to occur. Many fans concluded that the TARDIS was deliberately taking the Doctor to such situations because it knew his help was needed and understood that he thrived on defeating evil. The Doctor's Wife episode in 2011 confirmed this idea. A rare set of circumstances allowed the Doctor to speak directly to the soul of his ship. By the 2012 Christmas special, The Snowman, the Doctor added a section to the TARDIS console designed to enable more direct communications with his ship. Broken circuits. For the opening story, Anthony Cogburn thought that the TARDIS should disguise itself as a blue police phone box. a commonly seen object in London and other cities. For decades, police phone boxes provided direct communication with the police department before walkie-talkies. The light at the top flashed to alert police on patrol to call in. Prisoners could also be held inside temporarily while the police summoned aid via the phone on the door. As the police box prop was built, the concern arose of how expensive it was going to be to replace the time machine every few weeks with another large object that served no function except to wait for the adventurers to return to it at some point. To save money and time, Verity Lambert decided to keep reusing the police box model, remarking, "We'll just say the controls are broken." This explanation was easy enough. Though Sidney Newman had initially imagined that the Doctor would not remember how to fly his ship, an unearthly child establishes that the TARDIS is not in top form. Moments after the audience first sees the interior, the Doctor mentions needing to rely on an amateur spare part to repair part of the machine. After the TARDIS makes its first on-screen flight, the Doctor says that the Eurometer, which apparently helps determine destinations, is broken. Then, rather than fixing it immediately, he dismisses it and explores outside. Later on, Susan mentions on-screen that her grandfather often forgets a few steps in the ship's flight protocols, adding to the unpredictability of its flight. In The Name of the Doctor in 2013, we learned that the alien scientist had been warned that the ship's navigation system was not working correctly when he stole it, but was also advised that this would make his travels much more fun, which of course is why the writers made it an unpredictable time machine in the first place, along with the fact that it prevented the ship from being an easy cure for dangerous situations. If Ian and Barbara were imprisoned, the Doctor simply couldn't teleport the TARDIS into their cell, because he might wind up on the other side of the universe instead, unable to return. So with both ship and pilot quickly established as being unreliable, it wasn't so surprising in An Unearthly Child when, after landing on prehistoric Earth, the Doctor leaves the TARDIS and is alarmed to discover that his ship's disguise feature has failed, its outer shell still resembling a London police box from 1963. The dramatic contrivance of such an advanced and seemingly magical form of technology, also being imperfect, adds to the charm of the show, as does the bizarre imagery of a British police box acting as a spaceship. In the commentary for the Time Meddler, Verity Lambert said, "Like a lot of things that you'd have to do for budget, I think it turned out to be a rather wonderful thing, the sort of incongruity of that police box." The often beat-up looking police box became a fixed symbol of the program. Many years later, London's Metropolitan Police Service wanted to build new police boxes using this classic design, and the BBC objected, saying that they had a trademark on the image. A judge ruled in the BBC's favor, as Doctor Who had used it for decades without complaint from the police. In the 1965 TV story The Time Meddler, the ship's disguise feature was called a camouflage unit. The 1966 radio play Journey into Time, written by Malcolm Hulke and recorded by Stanmark Productions, called it the Electronic Chameleon System. In 1981, in Logopolis, the Fourth Doctor called it the Chameleon Circuit, which then became the official name. In a cut scene from 2010, the 11th Doctor explains how the Chameleon Circuit works. Every time the TARDIS materializes in a new location, within the first nanosecond of landing, it analyzes its surroundings, calculates a 12-dimensional data map of everything within a 1,000-mile radius, and determines which outer shell would blend in best with the environment. It then disguises itself as a police box from 1963. Probably a bit of a fault. Actually, I've been meaning to check. In the 1981 story Logopolis, the Fourth Doctor added that the TARDIS had been in a repair shop when he borrowed it in his haste to leave Gallifrey, and the technicians had not yet corrected certain things, such as the chameleon conversions. The Fourth Doctor was the first incarnation who tried repairing the Chameleon Circuit, deciding in Logopolis that he wanted to travel more discreetly, but an adventure interrupted his efforts. The Sixth Doctor determined to solve the problem and partially succeeded, but now the ship took on the appearance of objects that stood out even more ridiculously than a police box. Frustrated, the Sixth Doctor let it resume its own blue box setting. Over the years, it's become necessary to build a new police box for the program, which has led to minor cosmetic differences. The TARDIS used by the first two Doctors had a St. John's ambulance badge on one of the doors, but this vanished by the third Doctor's first appearance. It didn't appear on the door again until 2010, when the ship rebuilt itself in the 11th hour. Fans and creators alike have joked that the TARDIS exterior occasionally alters because the old ship tries to change shape again, but can't do more than tweak a few minor details. Simon Guiller's novel, The Time Travelers, directly references this phenomenon, which also explains why the TARDIS key occasionally has a different design. As the Doctor reveals in The Sound of Drums, the keys form part of the TARDIS itself and are connected to its abilities. For a recommendation this week, we take the 1970 film Cromwell, starring Richard Harris and Sir Alec Guinness. But as usual, let's look for a Doctor Who tie. Timothy Dalton is in this film, as is Ian McCulloch and Llewellyn Rees, and closing with Michael Jason. So watch Cromwell on Amazon Prime for a very good historical biopic. And keep watching Doctor Who. Enjoy your journey through time and space. Keep up with social distancing and stay safe.